All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another dev stream. So my name is Pyrit. I'm the community manager for Vigor, and today I'm here with Zane, our executive producer. Please just let us
Howdy.
know. Yeah, please
Sorry.
just let us know if you can hear us correctly, and we can jump right into your questions. I
That's
see
not
a
me
lot.
frozen in time, I promise. It's a picture.
All right, guys in the chat, please let us know if you can hear us.
Ah,
And
Air High Five, teamwork makes the dream work. We have no echo this time.
oh, nice. Cool, cool. And everyone can hear us. Perfect. So, we are kind of doing it differently this time. We have a few talking points that we want to cover, first and foremost, and then we will jump to some of your questions that you posted on Twitter and Facebook, and then eventually we will hopefully also get to the live chat. But hello, everyone, once again. And yeah, hello in the chat. And I think we can jump right in.
Yeah.
So, obviously, our first topic that we really want to cover is the season prolongment. Why did we decided to prolong the season 7? When is season 8 coming up? And so on. So, Zane, do you want to start with this one?
Oh man, oh god. Put me right in the crosshairs. Yeah, so let's talk about season prolongment a little bit of season 6 going into, I'm sorry, season 7 going for season 8. Some people kind of, one thing I think we didn't hit the mark on is giving the information out in just enough time, because we kind of planned it happening because there's a lot of things we're working on the backside. And there's a lot of little finite details that are a little bit harder to work on and manage to get right at this moment. But we're so close to getting it done that we needed the extra time to be able to polish it, to hopefully have it be able to come out in season 8 and have you guys see it. The other part of it is with the prolongment. Big questions from the community was like, hey, where's the extra levels? Where's the, some kind of rewards, things along those lines. In reality, here's something that's really interesting: is a very small player base actually reaches max level in that time base. I'll actually be honest, I'm like sitting at level 42 right now, and I haven't even hit max level yet, and I play the game daily. So we do notice those things, but with the things that we're working on, the implementations that we're doing, I don't know if I'm going to get shot by marketing. So that's why I'm just being very tiptoeing around what we're working about and what we're hopefully going to show here very soon. Not in this stream, but hopefully maybe I'll let the cat out of the bag and get in trouble. But with the prolongments of the seasons, we couldn't add more levels or add any extra rewards because of that new system that we're working on, that it does cause issues with it. So we had to make that decision of like, we want to increase the season length, but we can't get any extra rewards because of this cool thing that we're working with. So we understand that some players feel like they maybe missed the opportunity to keep playing after they hit level 50. But other players who haven't hit level 50 got the double XP weekend, which was our way of saying, hey, we know the season's not coming out, but go out and get the extra levels that you're missing, grind it out, and have fun. And we did see a lot of turnaround. A lot of players really enjoy that, and I actually spent most of my weekend doing that. So I digress. I ramble. I'm going to get off my soapbox.
No, I think that the answer was really open. So hopefully, guys, that at least answers most of your questions regarding the prolongment. As Zane mentioned, yeah, it was really hard decision for us. At the same time, we really want to get everything right. So that's about it. And also thank you everyone in the chat commenting on the new hair color. I really appreciate it. And we can jump right into the questions. I think that we will skip our talking points for now so we can answer some of them. So I will just put up the first question that we had on Twitter this time. Will there be a vibe with the new season or update? This is really interesting question because no, definitely there won't be any vibes. We are not planning any vibes of progression or anything like this. Last time we did it, we were still only on Xbox, and we were going from the game preview to, just like fully releasing the game. So this was the last time it happened, and it won't happen in the future.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is Xbox people have a lot of investment. Switch is almost hitting a year now of investment time into the game, and PlayStation is now hitting that first 90 days, almost first 4 months. So there is investment. We don't see ourselves wiping anyone or wiping the shelters or stats like that to make a progression or an update. There's other things that could be done, but never want to take your stuff away. It's just too heartbreaking to
Yeah,
grind all that
exactly.
time and lose it.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, definitely do not have to worry. No vibes coming your way. All right, moving to the next question. This one was also on Twitter, and it is about like adding new encounter-based objectives, like blowing up the com station and stuff like this. Which definitely these ideas aren't bad at all. It's just there is already a lot going on in the encounters, and we want to tackle with the loot events as well. Right now, definitely for the next update, there aren't any big plans like this. But maybe Zane, if you want to add anything to this topic or like your opinion on this.
I look at, I think it's a great feedback, right? Blowing up a comm station, let's see here, set up a radio tower, etc. With it, the problem is what does it do for progression of the encounter? I can see blowing up a comms tower or disruptive tower or something like that to stop that system or that POI being used. But really, in the big scheme of it, how does it push and flow? I think it's really interesting. It's a nice idea, but just like looking at it at face value, it's something that I can't say yet. I would do it right away, but it is a very unique aspect because we are looking at how the encounters work, how players are playing it, and kind of listening to the feedback of the groups of hey, we're looking at this. This is what we wish we could have. This is how the games feel to us. To really make those encounters feel like they're action packed and that you have choices to make while you're playing them. I don't know. Maybe I can't really say. And I want to point out I'm not staring into people's souls. I swear. I just don't blink. I'm like a sloth.
Oh, alrighty. Good. I'm just sitting here checking out the chat if there are any interesting questions before we get to another like really big talking point. I know that there are a lot of people asking about weapons. If we will be adding more weapons, if we want to tackle with the weapons a little bit, rebalance them, maybe get rid of the weapon of some of the weapons, and so on. So I think that this would be a really great opportunity to say something about that because
Yeah.
there will be some changes in the upcoming updates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess we can. I don't like pointing fingers, but a really good person I like to call out with when it comes up to the weapons conversation is one of our partners, Half Metal Fox, because they did bring up a very good breakdown of our weapons and kind of what we have. And honestly, Vigor has, I think, close to a point we'll have almost 70 weapons in the game.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and we
63, I think.
Yeah, 63, and then we have some other stuff planned that we don't want to talk about what weapons they'll be, but we have more than what you see on a Call of Duty through its entire life cycle. And so there's a point when I want to myself and as a team we want to take a step back from adding more weapons, look at more of the customizations, and really polish and put some finite work into the actual gunplay of the game. There's a lot of like I think the community will even agree with me. I'll take the pitchforks and the torches. Melee is one of those things we have a lot of melee weapons, and it just doesn't feel like it's worth taking a melee weapon out there. So that's something that I want to evaluate and work on. Just the close quarter combats or things, and just really finding the balance of. Right now, I think the big meta for our community, and this is something I think our YouTubers talk about and our streamers, you see it, is SG1s and H bars, and really finding a way to make sure like everyone has their way that they want to play, and every weapon feels unique and balanced and comfortable and rewarding when you get a kill with it, instead of everyone pushing towards one weapon or everyone just kind of rotating out of new weapons. But there's a lot of weapons in our games, and we're gonna put some polish and really put the effort into balancing things and making it feel comfortable. Like the biggest thing, and I'll talk about it now, and I guess I don't think anyone's going to get mad if I talk about the Rafika changes.
Hmm.
Rafika is the first thing we felt it needed to be adjusted right after the season, and Rafika now will be changed in its rarity. We'll be going to a rare, if I remember correctly. We'll get the confirmed patch notes, but when the update comes out, take a look at the patch notes to confirm it. But if I remember correctly from my notes, it will be moving from a common to a rare.
Yes, exactly. And this was also something that we were talking a little bit on our last dev stream, if I remember correctly. So guys, you can see that we are really trying to look into this. It's just really complex. There are too many weapons, so like getting it all right will take some time, obviously.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing to stress here is the implementation. There's so many weapons, so you have to look at every piece of it. How does it shoot? How does it recoil? What's the fire per minute, fire per second? How does the barrels look? What's the collisions on it? How does it handle when we go up against this wall, against this wall? How does it shoot for penetration with this ammo? So there's a lot of pieces that have to be evaluated and kind of looked at. So the investigation part is probably going to take a while. Then the implementation and fixes are going to take a while. But you're going to start seeing hopefully the trickle down effect of those changes, and you're kind of seeing that now with one of the quick, easy changes we can make was with the Rafika now. But you're going to start seeing some weapons and maybe some of your favorite weapons changing, or maybe your old favorites now become new favorites. Just depends on what your play style is.
So here you have your answer, guys. And with this next question, we are also getting into our really big talking point. And this was asked by one of our partners, so shout out to Honorable Bandits. And it was about the cheating issues, exploiting issues, especially that we have with dupers right now. There has been a discussion in the community for quite a while now, and what we can do about it, what we are even doing about it. And there were many discussions, even in the team as well, as to how to approach this issue and what we can do at what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's right time to start addressing it now.
God, yeah, this has been the hot topic issue with our partners, with our community, and even with us as a team. God, I think we spent 2 hours in one community meeting really kind of talking about this and discussing it. And this is my philosophy on it. And I'll just be clear as day with it. I have a philosophy of play nice, play fair. That's a core value of mine. Um, if the mechanic does not exist in the game and you're using a mechanic such as trading with your buddies by duping items and giving it to them and then somehow finding a way to either have them kill you or you kill yourself in a way, then you're cheating, you're exploiting. And I can tell you right now that we are taking this very seriously. We're looking at every report that we're gathering, and we're looking to see what actions can be taken and what will be done. When that will happen, I'm not going to say, but I'm not going to say more or less of what we're looking at. But we are looking at the stooping issue, the exploits. We're also looking at changes into the game itself to help mitigate this, and taking those reports that we're getting from the players and doing deep dive investigations and really kind of trying to nip this in the bud. Because as a player myself, I don't enjoy playing with my buddies and going, okay, we have to go hunt these two guys down, because now I'm on a hunt. And it's a hunt. It's a hunt to delete items before they get into the wild. So we see it. We as players ourselves, we see this and we don't like it, but we do see that the community doesn't like it as well. And I hear from you, and I see your anger and your frustrations with it. You want to earn it, right? It's part of that reward system. You want to go out into those encounters and really feel like you're kind of fighting to get that stuff. And if someone's out there just like, here, buddy, take all my stuff, it doesn't feel like the same kind of like risk versus reward. So we're seriously looking into it, and keep your eyes out because you'll see updates in the future.
Yep. Thank you, Zane, for addressing this. So hopefully this will bring a little bit of clarity into this. Also, our partners have a big voice in all of these decisions and in these discussions. So big thank you to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And last time we weren't quite able to get into as many questions from Facebook, so I would love to quickly jump into these as well.
Go for it.
And here we go. All right. This one is really interesting because it's also like touching up the whole why we have extended the season, why we haven't added plus 25 levels, which Zane already addressed. But I think it's really important to talk about it because, as you can see, many players feel really negatively about this decision. Well, first things first, we never anticipate or like we never want to extend the seasons if it's not absolutely necessary. If we do not,
Amen.
yeah, exactly. If we do not need more time. And each time, like the extra 25 levels were like a nice thing to have. But it doesn't mean that it will happen all the time or that we want to change the battle pass completely from 50 levels to 75 levels.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really wanted to address this because it feels really negatively how some people think about this. But we are not like punishing the players that are at level 50 already. As we already said, there's really small number of players that are actually that far in the battle pass, even now. So if you are at level 50, big congratulations, man. You are awesome. But it's this thing, you know, it's not
No,
mandatory.
and I understand it though, as a grinder and a completionist on certain games, people want to hit that level 50 as quickly as possible, get through it. So there are going to be players who are going to be at that cap and then feel, hey, there's an extension. Where's my extra to keep playing? So I understand that mindset from the player base. But with it, like we never, you kind of hit the nail on the head in that conversation. I said amen during it because you're like, preach. Is we never want to extend the season. It's one of those situations where we will sit down and we will have conversations up to the point of the last opportunity to be able to say yay or nay. And a lot of times we don't want to, but like I was saying, the things that we have planned for the next season with the next update, and going forward with the future of the title is one of those things we needed to take the time to kind of stretch this update out and put the polish onto those new features for season 8.
Exactly. And there was like a really nice question in the chat that they would like to see like the exact numbers. Well, right now, the number of players that are over level 50 is under 3%. This obviously may change in the upcoming weeks, but it's really rare to have like more than 5% of players to actually like complete the whole battle pass. So hopefully at least this will give you an idea on what we are talking about when we are talking about small number of players.
I just want to call out Lonnie in chat real quick and Twitch. Can we have more purple clothing in the battle pass? Like, God, I'm a fan of Prince. Purple Rain all the way. I'm gonna have to make this note now for this feedback. I'm sorry. More purple. No, I'm kidding.
But like we were discussing like more 80s stuff and shit like that. So maybe
Yeah.
eventually like more colorful things will come into the battle pass. Like we will see
Yeah.
obviously, because like already two upcoming seasons are in making.
Hmm.
But we will see. We will see what we can do with this one.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting part. Is I think one of the things I've talked about and we've talked about as a team is really looking at like the styles of 70s, 80s, early 90s and trying to bring some of that feel into the game, because we do have a lot of very generic, I wouldn't say generic, but very kind of interesting clothing. Like I love the mercenary clothing outfits, the hazmat suits. There's a lot of military olive drab, like hiding in a bush, but it's like the time period of when our game is it's like we're missing some of that flair. And I always say like the 80s was an experiment in bad taste, and it was a success. So we need to put some more of that in there, so hopefully in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Moving on to the next questions, because we have quite a few and we have been already streaming for 20 minutes. So we better speed it up.
I'll stop talking. No, I'm kidding.
No worries. So yeah, we already covered this one. So I will give it a pass because like we have been already talking about this for like over 15 minutes. But the next one is good. Like, are you guys going to add the outfits from last updates into the store? Like, if they will be able to get their hands on it, which kind of also touches like the feature that we have in making right now,
Hmm.
which we cannot talk about that much, sadly, for now. But we definitely do see that you would like to see the outfits from last Battle Pass seasons
Yep.
in the game, and we want to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. And fear of pain of death of everyone coming to hurt me later. There's this question will be answered very shortly, and I think Pyrit, you did a dev diary recently, like you guys are working on, and hopefully to have more information of what's coming out in the new update to show insight to kind of clarify that question. I wish I could say more. I swear, guys and gals, I want to, but I know if I say anything, I'm gonna get a message 10 seconds later going, "Why did you say this?"
Yeah, I will actually message you right now if you do it. So,
See. So, but
but
believe me,
yeah,
this is something big, and we see it, we hear it, and this will be answered. I promise. I'm gonna stop talking now.
exactly, exactly. You're good, man. All right. Next one. What is gonna be the theme for Vigor Season 8? So obviously, Season 8 is really close right now. I'm not going to tell you the theme of the season, just because I do not want to spoil the surprise. But our partners always get the next update a bit earlier
Hmm.
than the other players, so they will be able to showcase the new season really soon in the upcoming weeks. So you will have new info really soon.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the fun part is getting it in their hands and hearing their reactions to it and what they feel of the new update.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's always so nice and to get all of the early feedback so we can start like working on things early on and issues and bugs and stuff like that. So really, really good that we
Yeah.
have this in place. Moving on. Um, Yeah, we do not have an answer to this one, but it's worth mentioning. Are there any plans to add an additional number of preset loadouts? Which kind of does make sense because to each map you want to go in with like a different loadout, then streamers have their favorite loadouts.
Hmm.
So are there any plans? No. At the same time, is it like it's a nice idea?
Yeah. It is a very nice idea, and you kind of hit the once again the proverbial nail on the head is with some of the streamers, and even with this comment in the here is like I've seen Honorable Bandos do it where they've done movie challenges where they build loadouts based off movies. Half Metal Fox does it, Kino Mod, a lot of the streamers I've seen kind of do this. So it's interesting that the community wants it. The first implementation was the first loadout. I wouldn't say never, but it's just something that's not a priority that we want to
Mm-hmm.
look at this moment. But we hear you, and we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Um, what was coming up a lot today in the chat and sometimes on Twitter as well are the like visiting other people's shelters. And it's not that I want to seem like we do not see this question, but simply this is not something that we are planning to do because this whole feature, even though it seems kind of simple, would be really hard to do, like visiting your friends' shelters or like duo trios shelters and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So sadly, I will have to disappoint you with this one, guys. It's not happening.
No, no. I wish. I really
Yeah.
like. It's been a big conversation. It's one of the things the team's very passionate about. But just right now, for priorities and what we're
Mm-hmm.
looking at for the game, it's just not on that list. I also want to say, if I could design sharks for program laser beams on sharks' heads, I would do that. CEB. That's. I love that idea. Let's go to an encounter and there's sharks with laser beams. No, I'm kidding. But I, I'm a huge Austin Powers fan, so that tickled me pink.
All right. So yeah, that's sad, but at least we are honest. Like we cannot promise something that we know that will be really hard to do.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. So sorry about that one, guys. Jumping on into the Facebook. This one I haven't seen for a while. It's a question about an Easter egg. The photo above the fireplace in the shelter. In this photo is one of the devs with his dog. If not, it's weird because the person in the shelter obviously has a cat. Since there is a lot of cat food around. Well, I don't know if the person living in the shelter actually has a cat. Like, first of all, it's you, it's your character, and so you can imagine whatever you want. But yes, this is one of our developers with his dog. Like we were kind of hiding stuff like this a lot, especially around the shelter. Also
Mhm.
on the magazines, you can also find some of our developers. So yeah, that's all for the Easter egg. Nothing mysterious going on.
I also want to point out, like in a survival situation like the apocalypse, my dog's gonna learn how to like cat food if that's all we have. I'm
That's right.
sorry.
Yeah. Even I wouldn't learn how to love cat food. I mean, otherwise I would die because I'm unable to kill someone in real life.
Yeah, it's like look, Lord Flufferton. I'm sorry that you don't like cat food, but it's all we have. There was no more kibble.
Oh, all right. Moving on. Next question. Are there any plans for more and like new interactive things on the maps, like the signals tower and so on? This one is interesting because obviously there is a lot in the encounters. Like compared to what we started with,
Hmm.
when the game first came out, there has been a lot of stuff added to the encounters. So right now, definitely like adding more things like this. It's not a priority, I would say.
No, I wouldn't say a priority, but I would say it's a very interesting question because it does hit on a few things
Hmm.
that we're looking at, like openable exits. We're looking at overhaul and revamping that, and really putting some nice touches onto that system in the next couple of updates. Um, there's other things that I've been working on in the shadows that I don't want to even hint at, but there's things that we're really kind of looking at of adding to the map to create that level of immersion and feel of interaction. So I guess stay tuned. It sucks that I can never give details because I'm always afraid someone's going to beat me up. But I'm just saying, like, there's some things that we do have in the works that we're looking at, and there's some changes. I think the community's already seen some of that as well with the Morse codes and
Hmm.
on Fisk. That when Fisk was brought back, we started doing a little bit of interactions where the community had to step out of the game a little bit to figure out what was being said. So we do see that stuff as areas of opportunities, but straight on interactions like you would see with like POIs, I just don't really quite see it except
Hmm.
for the stuff we currently have right now.
Hmm. Hmm. And since you were talking about Morse code, actually, do you want to dig a little bit into this? Because I think that many players actually like don't know what it's all about. Obviously, there are already videos like cracking the code and stuff like that, but we never kind of like explained that it's there, and why. So if you want to tackle a little bit into this.
Oh God, see, so the first two, the Witness Me and I would say it's a trap. It's a trap is just great because I'm a Star Wars fan, so it works for me. But I feel like those are really the first kind of test runs of seeing if the community is paying attention.
Hmm.
We do can tell they're paying attention. It's very interesting to see how smart people are with Caesar ciphers. To find out the first person who cracked the Fisk code was a Caesar ciphers as a kid. It was very interesting to hear that story and how they cracked it. But yes, there's things that we're looking at of kind of really making you have to pay attention and listen and work with the community down the road. Everything will matter, and I've been talking to the team in some aspects. I'm like, we really want to force listen and pay attention to everything around you. But it's the first steps of really putting in something new that's unique to the game.
Hmm. Hmm. So guys, if you like it, definitely let us know, and we will start adding more stuff like this into the game. Because we enjoy it as well. Like it's creative, it's fun.
I'm not gonna say there's stuff already in the game, but keep your ears out. Where is it? I don't know. I just tell people I want. No, I'm kidding. It don't. Maybe. Who knows? It's a mystery.
You're
So many people
being
would be
cruelly
mad.
mysterious
I
today.
know they're gonna be so angry. Some poor person like Christopher Beast or somebody's gonna walk across the entire map for 3 days and be like, I heard nothing.
Oh, yeah, but that can happen actually. So yeah, let's move
But
on. Let's leave this one open. Just keep your ears open, guys.
mysteries. Well, the Morse code is supposed to be interesting and unique. That's what right now it's the first test, and you'll see more improvements upon it down the road. So just to
Hmm.
kind of cover that, because I got very vague and cryptic.
Hmm. Hmm. So this question is long, but it's mostly touching like if we plan on adding new things to the maps, maybe even more maps, and adding new things to the shelter area. Because obviously a lot of players are all leveled up and they are trying to see if there's anything else to do, if there will be anything else to do. One thing is definitely the feature that we currently have in making, and you will learn more about it with the new season. But I don't know if we can say anything else right now on this topic. Like we have been discussing it a lot, obviously.
Oh God, I don't.
I
I
am
will
putting
say
you in
that,
a really uncomfortable
yeah,
situations today, right?
yeah, it's the question of like, do I want to start showing some of the hands that that are the things we're working on without a lot of things to back it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because talk is one thing, and I like action. I want to be able to show some of the stuff, but I will say there are major. I wouldn't say major overhauls, but there are overhauls of things such as shelter, things along those lines. We're reviewing and investigating, but we are trying to find ways to make it for the in-game players and the new players, and giving that feel of this is my house, this is my home, this is my shelter, right? So you were hitting me with left right punches. Who are you? It's the new hair. It's that's what it is.
Yeah, definitely. New hair, new me. You know how it
Yep.
is. And all this quarantine stuff, like, at least I have to change my personality when I do not have to change anything else. But hey, moving on. Guys in the chat, do you have anything you would love to ask Zane today since we have him here? Put it in the chat and we will jump right into it. And in the meantime, we will just move on to another question, this time from Twitter. So I will just quickly put it on. And here we go. Any thoughts on a ready up button when playing in squads of 2 to 3? This has been brought up quite a lot in the community recently, and I can see why. Because like we have many people that actually prefer playing with friends, so it would make
Hmm.
sense to add something like this.
Yeah, and that's I can't say yes right away,
Mm-hmm.
but I do know that it makes it a little bit more easier for players, for groups. There's things that we are talking about internally that it is actually a very good talking point and a good feedback. So definitely going to take this down and see what we can try to implement on it, but no promises. I think chat said it best: undersell, underdeliver, or undersell, overdeliver. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm just going to undersell. I like the feedback. I just kind of gotta you gotta wait. What's my favorite map? I just saw that from Tiny. I'm sorry, I'm in
Yeah,
Twitch
I,
chat.
I was just
Uh,
about to ask that, so go ahead.
Fisk, Fisk, Fisk right now, and the reason for Fisk is the time of engagement. Get and the docks down by the warehouses are so good. If you spawn on the backside and come into the market, you can get a quick engagement right there. If you come from southwest and move your way up to the market, you can get a good engagement. Like that choke point is such a good firefight zone, and then the houses above it is just really good engagements. I play a very slow, tactical like pace of my game, so I love those kind of engagement moments.
Good pick. Good pick. So let us know in the chat, guys, what is your favorite map? Um, like I know that mostly people mention Felkanten, and Gronheim also a lot. Like I
Yes.
also like the snow maps, just because there's snow, because I'm sucker for Christmas. That's just me, I guess. And we have a few answers with bridges, which is also great. Like
Oh, bridges. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I remember when the map first came out. Like it was one of the maps with like like big bridges. What else do you need? It was really interesting to see the community's reaction. And the map got a lot of love when it first came out. So we were really happy
God,
that players like it.
can I rapid fire some Twitch questions real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Tacticats, which I've actually checked them out on Twitch. They're a VR Vigor streamer, which is very cool.
Hmm.
Any plans for crossplay parties? Nothing at the moment that we can talk about. But we do know the community is really passionate about finding a way to have crossplay. It was one of the big conversation pieces when we first announced PlayStation. Uh, Sandrex TV asked this, and I've seen this a few times. Limit the number of armor plates and portables. That is something we are discussing and looking at of just that overall system, but nothing I want to say, yes, we are going to do it, or no, we're not. But we are talking about it internally. My favorite map. Do I check my DM Twitters? I kind of do. I don't really. It's weird. Mad, yes, we'll play some matches. That's a few. That's all I saw right now.
And I saw a really good question actually, because last time many people were asking about like the shooting range challenges and that we haven't added new ones for a while. And I think that I can say this because we were discussing it on one of our meetings recently. So we would absolutely love to look into these once again and start adding new ones. So we are just starting with it. Sadly, they are not coming in the next update, but we definitely do want to add more challenges for you with the new weapons, obviously, so you can try them out.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up because that is something that has been missing was the challenges for the new weapons and really getting that moment to sit there because I will sit in my shootout or my shelter and just shoot in the shooting range for 20 minutes waiting on friends at times. So good call out. I do. It's so sad. Like friends are like, "You ready to go?" It's like, I'm testing this gun and seeing if I can do this with it."
Coolio. All right, so we will just skip to the pre-prepared ones again. This one was interesting. Why we can't do multiple gun crafting like we can do with ammo? Maybe it will be available with Season 8. Um, so it's actually like two questions. Well, first of all, like crafting of ammo and weapons is it's a bit different even in real life. So that's why maybe you cannot like craft multiple weapons all at once. Is it coming with Season 8? No, it's not. But I don't know if
No.
there's like anything else to add.
No for season 8. And I'll also say that unless you're Goro and you have 4 arms, I don't know how you could
Yeah.
build 2 guns at the same time. Unless you're quick, right? That's the other part. Like if you're really fast at putting weapons together, it makes sense that you can get them through. But to build 2 at the same time, it just I like a little bit of logic with our game because it tries to find a balance of of real world versus video game and try to have this good cohesion of the two because it's hard to mimic reality in a video game world. But there's logic. We look at a lot of logical things when we start doing some of these features, and that's one of the things like I don't have 4 arms. I can't put 2 guns together, but if I'm good, I can start pumping them out faster. So keep an eye out. You never know. You may see some changes down the line. You might not, but I like the feedback, and I'm making some notes on it.
Yeah, and especially like when you were touching like the whole realistic approach that we have, it's actually like starting even some like I don't want to say hated, but like a more
Are
discussions
you,
in the team.
are you talking about the reload conversation?
Yeah,
Are you talking
exactly.
about the reload?
I am bringing up the reload because like we have different opinions on things, whether you can reload while running or not. And yeah, most of us obviously cannot. I am really bad with guns. I am like glad if I can even like take it into my hand. But there are even like different opinions on this one. So yeah,
Training versus non-training, right? And I think that's actually a
yeah,
very interesting
exactly.
conversation. So to give some insight on that, right? Is like when the change happened, I was like, well, I can reload and run at the same time. And I was like, you can do that. And I was like, well, let me clarify. Muscle memory taught myself to do it. I don't know if I can still do it. But then the question is like, are we all military, ex-military, or are we all survivors, like civilians that were pushed into the situation? And as a team, we had to make that decision of who we are as players. And it's like you're normal Joes. You're not GI Joes. You're just Yo Joes and Janes. So that's why you see that situation where reloading changes and it feels a little bit different than what it was before because there's a little bit more reality we're trying to put in there where not everybody's a super soldier and can do that cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, like on a scale from me to Zane, you have to be somewhere in the middle.
No, I'm no like it's literally not that far. Like it's a 3 and a 5. Come on, we're good. We're good. Together we make a 9, but separately we're awful.
All right. This is a really great question when we are touching the realistic approach. Why does the radiation not affect the environment, but it does affect the players? Interesting question. Like there is some hardcore radiation going on, but at the same time, like even in the like radioactive locations, in like real world, there is still like nature doing her stuff.
Yeah, Chernobyl's a great example of that. It's I like to say the city that nature took back, because it is still thriving with life and everything, but if you go in there and hang out in certain areas, you'll die, right? So it doesn't mean that radiation. It's not like a nuclear bomb radiation where you're thinking, the atomic chemical particles are now vaporizing and burning everything. This is just a radiation dust blowing in,
Mhm.
or a radiation storm. So it's particles of radiation that are affecting you. It's not an actual A bomb.
Mhm. Mhm. So I hope that this answers your question. Moving on. Um, Please, can we have more sneak peek for the next season instead of nothing? Well, as we already said, we do not want to spoil you the surprise. Our partners will have the game pretty soon, so they will be able to showcase some features. But I would like to, I will give you one thing that is coming in the next season. So you will be able to talk about it, Zane, actually, this time. I will let you. But we are taking away the anti-camping mortar strikes.
Yes, yes. Okay, cool. I was wondering if I was going to get to talk about that. Yeah,
You
so
absolutely can. Go ahead.
sweet, I got the clearance. Yeah, so I feel the pain of the community. We understand with the anti-camping and the mortars, it was very intrusive to the gameplay and the flow style, and a lot of people kind of used it in ways that just wasn't built mechanically for. So we have decided to pull that out, reevaluate a system of finding a better way to help detect when someone is sneaking in a bush, or as I like to call them, trinos. If they're pulling a trino, hiding in a bush on you, and you don't know what's going on. So we're looking at ways to reevaluate it, but yes, that is going away. So no more random mortars, no more people sitting in a house for 4 to 5 minutes. The next thing you know, a mortar strike comes out of nowhere on top of them. So we have adjusted that.
Mhm. All right. So at least you have something, but nothing more is coming out of our mouth regarding the upcoming update because
I,
it's really close,
mhm.
and we cannot spoil anything else. Alrighty.
If I can, hold on, I want to touch on
Mhm.
two things real quick. So Joey Guru, and I've seen this question being brought up a few times. Any changes to elimination next season? Nothing in the upcoming season right away, but we are looking at elimination and some changes to help balance it and make it feel a little bit better. We've also talked about shootout in itself as well, but a lot of things that we want to do for those game modes, but we're still once again goes back to prioritizing. There's a lot of things we've kind of hinted at or talked about or things that we want to do. It's not something that you'll see in season 8, season 9, season 10, but maybe you're talking like season 11, 12, 13 down the road of this year. But we do have I wouldn't say a roadmap, but a plan of where we're going, what things we want to focus on for this year and get done. But that has been part of the conversations that we've had about the elimination.
Mhm.
I think we've had it like 3 weeks in a row now. Every community meeting, me and Johanny will sit there and talk about like we could do this and this, and then we get yelled at for running over a meeting.
Yeah, well, if it takes 2 hours, then it's a bit
Hey,
exhausting.
I'm used to the 2 hour meeting. I can handle it. I talk a lot, so I can deal with that one. The other questions is I saw as well, and once again, I'm sorry, Facebook. I don't see y'all's live chat. I'm a horrible person. But to talk about, is there going to be some changes in combat? We are looking at combat changes. Once again, goes back into the gunplay that we're looking at and evaluating. So get used to hopefully seeing some changes to how the gunplay and your combat works a little bit, and finding that balance into it. Changes coming to armor plates. I don't know what that means. I feel like I feel like they need to be a lot more accessible for low levels. God, I'm on the fence on that one. I like the question, but I don't know. Get back to me in 2 weeks.
Mm.
I'm just reading chat out loud now, so I apologize. This is what happens when you used to be a full-time streamer.
Um, Alrighty. I think that there are a lot of questions like touching armor plates. Also, if we shouldn't like limit the amount and stuff like that. So that's something that the community is really interested in, and I think that we want to look into this. Like,
That's a serious
yeah,
conversation we've had. I
yeah.
think leadership and the community and just everyone as a whole, we've sat down, and I think I've been the one who's kind of raised that flag and stood on
Mhm.
that hill for the past few weeks about it, where it's like, hey, we need to look at balancing this and reevaluating it. It's just we don't want to do one full swing and then have to come back and then reevaluate again and swing it another way. One of my big things, I talk about it every time I come on the stream, is a commitment to quality. I understand that we have sometimes missed the mark on a few of those things, and those are areas of opportunities that we can improve upon. But before we put in new features like this or make changes or overhauls to something, I really want to make sure it works, it's flushed out, it's perfect, or as close to 100% perfect before dropping into the community's laps, because we have players who've been playing for years. We have players who are just starting off in their first couple of months. So we want to make sure these things work and they don't feel like they're just destroying your livelihood of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes the opinions really differ. The hardcore players that have been with us for a while, and then the new players. It's always about finding the right balance, basically, so
Mm-hmm.
everyone enjoys the game. And it's
It's the
sometimes,
biggest
yeah,
balance.
and sometimes it's really hard to do. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes. Like, and I think that's the conversation you have, and so I hate the backstory of how long I've been in the industry, but we used to have those conversations of core versus hardcore, and we have those conversations, I think, still internally at sometimes of, a lot of people don't know this, but my first interaction with Vigor was 2018, 2019. I got an alpha code via Twitter for making a meme. Which just insight, we love our memes here, but we love memes, especially about the game. But I've been part of this community since the hardcore days when we had certain things that no longer exist in the game, and I still talk to those players that are from that guard or that cut, and we have new players who don't have that same kind of style. So it's trying to find that perfect balance of both. So it does take some time, does find some balancing, but it's a lot of conversations where it's like, well, as a new player, I'm not going to be good, because I think we saw a lot of that when Switch came in,
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
conversation of Xbox versus Switch. New players on Switch felt like they were getting destroyed by Xbox players, and it was a little bit of a learning curve for them to kind of get up to that level.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I think that it was a big shock, even for us. And it wasn't as big of a shock with PlayStation players coming in because we were already able to do some changes after the Switch release, so that was nice.
Yep,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
yep. Coolio. We have last question from Facebook, and it is about adding more stats, like for headshots, kills per gun, and stuff like that, which I can see like there are a lot of different types of players. Me personally, I don't necessarily care all that much about this stuff, but I can definitely see like players that really want to see their stats.
Hmm.
So this is more of like a question for the future. So if you want to touch a bit, if you want to touch it a bit, Zane, like if we want to add something more for those players, rather not, if it's hard to do.
It's a little bit of both, right?
Mm-hmm.
So coming from a sports background with working on other sports titles and other racing titles, I get stats are important to players. I've seen it. I understand. Like the littlest minute stat to me could be the most important stat to one player. The hard part is finding the right stats, tracking them, because we are tracking a lot of stats already,
Mm-hmm.
and things that are tying into your titles and your badges that you go through, or I like to call fetus shrinks, I guess. There's a lot of statistics that are tied into those as well, but they're not generated or built in a UI format like you see currently for the leaderboards. I think we've touched on this conversation. God, as you can tell, my weeks are blending together at this point because we're already at the end of March. We've touched on this point a few times, I think once or twice this month alone. But we haven't really sat down and really, brainstormed, investigated the best way to do it. But we do know that players are looking for more statistics. It's just the right way to do it and which ones to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So no promises, but we have talked about it.
Mm-hmm. There is an interesting question which I don't know if either of us actually knows answer to, but which community has more players, PlayStation,
Ooh.
Switch, or Xbox?
Oh, I would say the longest running players are going to be your Xbox guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I
Like
part of
we,
me, so without looking at the numbers, right? Because I don't have any
Mhm.
analytics in front of me, nothing,
Yeah,
no data.
exactly.
I can say that I feel PlayStation's a little bit larger of a community base because it's a newer game.
Yeah,
It's
that's
within that
right.
first 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
We had a million players within the first 2-3 weeks of that game coming out on PlayStation, which I love the community for really embracing the game and getting in it and playing it. And we're seeing that growth still. Xbox is starting to see that growth come back. Old players are starting to come back into the guard. New players are starting to go, "What is this game bigger? Hold on." and Switch is really just that I like to call my casual core buddies who have something to play on their handheld when they're on the go. I've actually played it on Switch a few times, but I'm so bad at it that I have to go back to my Xbox. But I would say arguably right now, I think because the game has just released on PlayStation, but that doesn't mean that one community is bigger than the other. It just means some players are taking a break because of how long Xbox has been out. We're going into 8 seasons now on Xbox. Compared to PlayStation, this would be their technically 3rd season, if I'm not mistaken at this point. So they're very young in the life cycle of their community.
Yeah, that's. I think that you're right. That the Chunkers were first on PlayStation, like first season on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, and I saw a really good question in the chat, so hopefully we will be able to answer that. If there are any new titles coming their way, and if there ever will be a title for collecting all of the vinyls.
This question. God, Phil's gonna love this one. As everyone remembers Phil from the last dev stream, or 2 dev streams ago, brain's a little fried. Yeah, he actually is the one who helped spearhead the vinyl system. We've talked about adding a title in for vinyls because it is a memento that should have one. Every other memento collection has one. God, I think you've talked about last time that partners will be getting their own title. So that was a good reveal for them, and then people will be able to hunt us down soon, knowing who we are in game.
Exactly.
Please leave me alone. Don't kill me because you know it's me. So and yeah, Tacticats, I see your post there as well about Switch performance network issues is pretty bad. We are evaluating and looking at that, and optimization is always a big part of this game of the team. And that's why you see I think it's one of those good things to call out. Like you probably see a lot less features going in, and the reason is we're really focusing on the optimization and polish of the game as well, without doing a lot of extra bloatedness to the updates. But we want to make sure they're meaningful updates as well.
Exactly.
Let's see here. But no, next-gen optimizations, stay tuned. Nothing I can talk about now, but we have had the conversations. We just don't know what to really do on it or which way we want to go about it. That's just me being coy, but we have had those conversations because, believe me, a lot of us have next-gen consoles. The community does. Just nothing that we want to share or talk about if we're going to do it, if we're not going to do it quite yet.
Yeah, exactly. Stay tuned. And we have a last question on Twitter, and then it's only live questions from the chat. All right, so let's jump to Twitter. This one is like a little more talkative, so you will be happy, Zane. It's about it's about the reasoning behind like choosing a third-person camera instead of like first-person for Vigor. Why do we think it's better, that it works better for the game?
Wow, I got put in a tough decision because that's a design philosophy that was made well before my time here on the project. But I can say that I balance between the two. I will play. I like third person running around. It gives me the sense that I can feel and see around me at times. When I'm going into some certain gunfights, I will go ADS first person and fight that way. But I really can't give you the original design philosophy of why it was done that way. I find it as a good balance between the two of having first and third because everyone plays differently. I do know there are some people who. That is my cell phone. I apologize. That was rude of me. That's Discord, probably the ninjas telling me that I'm in trouble. But I find like there are some people who get very motion sick in first person only. They can't play, but they can play fine in third person. And you kind of see that balance of going ADS to get those contacts or those engagements that way, and then pulling back out the third. But it's just it's a flow of a combat. I play mostly like Armas in third person. The only time I go into first person is if I'm playing on a hardcore server of some sort. But I enjoy the engagements of being able to fight in first and third. But original design, I can't tell you, but I enjoy the gameplay. I actually enjoy being able to switch my shoulders and move the guns back and forth. There's certain things about third person that's just very refreshing, and I enjoy a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like the first thought was, let's make something a bit different, not just another first-person shooter. And then it was also about the connection to the character, because like in Vigor, the only thing, especially at the beginning of the game, the only thing you were really able to customize and make it your own was your Outlander.
Mhm.
So we really wanted the connection to be there. But I think that you covered most of it, even though you weren't here when the first design was kicked off. I think that you nailed it pretty much.
Yeah. Well, and we see it in like, especially there's like, look at, oh god, I hate using other games as examples, but like look at your Ghost Recons, your PUBGs, your Fortnites, Arma, Daisy. They all have the first to third person flow mechanic, right? And especially with a looter shooter survival game such as Vigor, your your peripheral awareness is so important. Audible and peripherals are the most important mechanics of your character. I got to be able to see around me, and I need to be able to hear everything. If you went to just a first person perspective, you've just cut off a lot of your peripheries in some of those aspects. Now, I get some people do it, and I know guys who do it in Arma as well, who will do the third person cheat around the wall, and I see you in encounters, and I know who you are because you pop out as soon as I come around of a corner, so I know you saw me. But there are people who will use that mechanic and be like, okay, cool, I can see you as I'm a foot off the corner. We've talked about ways to look at balancing that and kind of like find a good balance of fixing the corner peeking of third person. But there's disadvantages and advantage to every POV.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. And we are out of the pre-prepared questions, and we have a bit of time left. And I saw a really good one. Tiny Online was asking, what was the morning maintenance about? So I will just quickly jump in and explain. The downtime was really short. It was about 5 minutes, and it was because there was an issue impacting Xbox purchases. They kind of like we got a lot of reports that the purchases were failing randomly, so we were looking into this, and the fix was already rolled out with the maintenance, so it should be good now.
Can I jump into some of these Twitch questions?
Yeah,
Is that cool?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yay! Yeah, awesome. So, no particular order. I'm just going to look at them and go. Nothing for PC release. No conversations that we've had. I think we've talked about this every time we've had a stream.
Yeah.
Just not priorities or even being looked at. EMC, EMC. I like that. I just feel armor plates give such a over massive benefit to higher players, less to lower players. I disagree. It's a balance, right? Your more aggressive, higher level players are going to be a little bit more veteran and know kind of their engagements, what they have to do, how they have to shoot. The armor plates give the low level players a little bit better of an area of opportunity in those engagements. It also helps against campers because you get that first like ding ding, oh god, and then you turn and then you're already dead because you said oh god instead of turning and firing. From personal experience. Chris X88, please focus on fixing game combat mechanics. It's terrible combat performance. People are respawning away meters. I wish you would kind of give me context of what you mean by people spawning away. I'm assuming that means shootout, because encounters people
Probably.
don't respawn. But we are looking at combat weapon play and gunplay, so we have been talking about it and evaluating it. Just wish I had a little bit more context for that one. God,
I think that there were also many questions about grenades and Molotovs and stuff like that. Like, we get questions like this on every single stream, so I think that we can address this
but
also
I
this
get
time.
it. That like people who have been around since early days on Xbox,
Yeah.
we had grenades we had sitting on our backs during the original early builds, and now we don't. So it's always going to be a question. Like once again, it goes back to that conversation of like the hardcore guys are always going to bring that up. Hey, are we ever going to see this again? It's like God, it's a good question. We want to, we just not right now, but like it's a great question. I think we've had this almost I've been on the team for almost a year. Like June will be a year, so like 3 months from now. Jesus, time flies during COVID. Um, but I think that was a conversation we've had for almost a year with the team, with me on it. Is like, can we do this? Do we have the ability to? And it just comes down to the time, resources, and the abilities. And that's just something that's a big resource sink. When there's other things we can work on right now, I get grenades will change up a lot of the camping and some of those encounters that you have, like on battery in the bunkers, things like that. But it's like there's other optimizations we want to focus on first.
Um, And yeah, do you have any questions that you like in the chat, Zane?
Good. I like G40's question about the app to access your shelter and craft weapons and consumables when not at home. I think it's a great suggestion and feedback. Just something that I wouldn't say is a huge priority, something we would look at within this time frame of this year or next. But it is a great suggestion or feedback for the game. Uh, any changes to lock exits, or are you keeping them as they are? We're actually TT90 TT. Hey TT, we are actually evaluating locked exits. That was something that was a little bit of a baby of mine. I made the suggestion for it. It was implemented, and we still are going through with some tweaks and changes to it, and looking at a way to make it a little bit more dynamic and engaging for a player instead of having you almost feel blind. And I think I'll talk on that because I've talked to the partners and I've talked to certain players about this in streams. As most of the community may not know, is I lurk in a lot of streams and I'll talk every now and then when I'm not too busy with work. With those locked exits, they're built to make you think. So you have to either choose, hey, I'm in the encounter. The first 3-4 minutes, I've gotten into a fight. I know I have this stuff, but I want to go to the signal or I want to go to crash container. You have to choose, hey, do I want to go stop at that locked exit, see what I need to get out, or do I want to take the chance and gamble at the end of the match? So you really have to start plotting out how you do your engagements in some of those circumstances. And what I see a lot of players run into right now is they don't have the planning. They run into the encounter, they get threat, they mess somebody up, they get the airdrop, they go, okay, I'm going for the locked exit. They get to the locked and they're just like, I didn't get any fuel, and then they're dead. So it's just you got to take that step and just kind of think about which way you want to go. Exactly. Locked exits are another tactical choice, and that's exactly right, Aqua. That's kind of how you have to look at them. Because when I've played with groups, we actually will hit that within 5 minutes, know what we need, go destroy the rest of the map, and we'll leave on that exit, or we'll re-extract somewhere else. So it's just you got to think about how you play the game and really evaluate some of those encounters now. I know we all want to run in and gun and drop portable detectors and mortars, but sometimes you really got to plan out your engagements.
That's absolutely true. And I also think that like the first negative reactions were mostly when the update first came out, before people got used to it. Because it was really hard, at first, like especially if you haven't read any of the news, blog posts and stuff like that, you just ran to the exit and it was locked and you didn't have any idea what to do. And now I think that people start to think more about it and being tactical with it, which I think is great. And it adds something to do in the encounter.
I laughed really hard on a few of them where I've watched a few of our players. They would have 4 out of the 5, and they'd be like, "What? I can't leave! I can't! No!" And then they would die, and they're like, "I hate this." And then like a week later, they're like, "I really enjoy it. This is actually it makes me have to think about how I'm going to play, and if I can catch somebody here before they can get out." So it does take a lot of changes, and I think you see a lot of that with like initial changes into the game. Players kind of are back and forth on it. Some players enjoy it, some players don't. Like we just saw someone say like they think it's a bad idea. Everyone's up to their own opinions of the locked exits, and I get that. It's not going to appease everybody. Some people will, some people won't. But same with armor plates. Some people felt it was really good idea. Some people were like, I don't like this, and we saw that initial feedback and changes, and now you kind of see the status is like, hey, I need at least an armor plate to go into an encounter because I can get destroyed very quickly. Or if somebody's a good enough shot, a headshot will destroy me in one shot. So what does it matter?
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty. So we have been already streaming for quite a while. And I don't think that there are any like questions that we haven't answered yet in the chat right now. Zane, is there anything else you would like to add today?
Gosh. We talked about Vinyl Mementos briefly. I want to thank everyone for coming out. It's been awesome and fun. I missed not being on these dev streams. I know I took a break for a little bit, and it's a lot of stuff I am working on. So it's I feel bad because I do enjoy these, but I do hang out in a lot of streams. So please feel free to ask questions. If I don't know an answer, I won't. As always, you guys can find me on social at Zane the Bearded One on Twitter. Tag me, post me, let me know. I try to be engaging on there, but my work shift is very weird. So it's been a blast though. Thank you so much for letting me come on, Pyrit. I appreciate it. I thought after last time you were never going to have me back on.
Oh, it was nice. I mean, it was really great. It was long, definitely, but it was a great stream, and I'm looking forward to having you on the next one, Zane.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching today's dev stream. The video will be obviously also on our YouTube. I will be posting it tomorrow. Make sure to follow us on social media for the latest news. Again, thank you for coming, and see you in the Outlands, guys. Bye.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.